Good morning, Judy here from Thistledew Creations. Today I'm going to show you how I store my laces and ribbons and torn fabric strips. So I make my own cards to put them on using a 3.5-inch scalloped circle punch and about a 2-inch circle punch. So I just found that the spools that ribbon and laces come on are just so bulky to store. So I'm gradually getting everything onto these cards so they can store flat, and I can store a lot more variety in this small little bin, which I keep in my dining room here, my dining room craft room. So I've got torn fabric strips. I've done videos on those. Different kinds of laces and trims that I've got at thrift stores and swaps. And when I tear the wire edge off of ribbon, the 2-inch wide usually wired ribbon, I put them on these cards as well. That's what all 3 of these are. Actually, this one is the wire edging. And so I have used this to bind books with, especially little notebooks and stuff. So who doesn't like some purple sparkle? And then this was just some fabric that I tore into strips. It's like an organza fabric. And then this wire, or not wire, stretchy gold mesh. I put that on there as well. And then this was some fabric that I picked up at a thrift store and ripped into strips as well, some fabric mesh. So I just wanted to show you how I make these, and I haven't really dressed them up much beyond just putting the lace on them, but you could stamp on them or ink the edges or anything. I don't do a lot of white ones, but this happens to be a white one. The first ones that I did were black here, and I did them because I knew they would look really good with this silk fabric that I picked up in Ottawa. And what I do is I mark on in pencil 4 at 12 inches. So this is 4 12-inch pieces. There would be other ones where it might have been a full yard, so I put 1 yard. And then I cut a little slit just like the embroidery floss things have, so that you can put the end through the slit and then tuck it in behind. So I'll just show you how I make them, and then you can make some yourself. So I usually use file folders because I have a lot of file folders, and I'll just go around and actually I've found it works. My punch is a secondhand punch, so I do find it works a little bit better with a single thickness. So I will just cut a bunch of circles. I'm just going to do a few with you today just to show you the idea. And I don't even get too excited if I can't get a full circle. I will just do this, let it be, that one's not even that bad, but cut off kind of on the edge, because the next step, there's a better example. One of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that scallop out anyway. So if you have to overlap them a little bit to make the most of your cardstock, then you can do that, because you're gonna do this sort of apple core shape anyway. So then I found that one thickness of the file folder wasn't quite strong enough. So what I've done is I line up the scallops. I've got this where it's not perfect here, so I'm going to go on the side here. I cut my scallops out, go across to the other side, and cut them out again. I'd kind of like to find a punch that allows me to do this more flat. I do have a square punch that I might be able to use to make like a longer square section, but Most of these fabrics are okay. They don't misform, and even if they do misform a little bit from being kind of forced onto this curved surface, I can always use my hot iron, my flat iron on them. So then I just take the two and I hold them together. Actually, before I glue them together, I want the edges kind of like this. I don't want any pointy bits like this. So I'll cut that off and cut this off. Once you get going at this, you can do this in front of the television. I'll even sit and punch a bunch of circles in front of the television and then glue them up. So then glue up one side and then just glue up the other side. And like I say, that's how I've been using them, not doing anything else to them. But you could certainly stamp or even just ink the edges if you wanted them to look a little more vintage. This just happens to have green ink on it. I was doing St. Paddy's Day stuff. I don't think I would ink it too much in here. It's not going to be seen, but you could if you want them. If you're putting something narrow like this, it shows more of it. So you could ink them up. You could use your stamps along the edges, sweet little flowers or a word. Just embellish, or you could use your stamps to write the quantity that's in there. So your 1 yard, your 2 yards, your whatever, so many feet. And I don't measure precisely either. I will take and just do the method where you go from your nose to your outstretched fingertips, and I just turn my head to the left and hold my right arm straight out. I'm doing it for you, but I know you can't see. Hold my right arm straight out and holding on to the yardage, whether it's lace or fabric or whatever it is. And then that is a good, healthy yard. And my mama in West Virginia taught me how to measure like that. So it might be a little bit more than a yard, but at least I'm not going to be undersizing it to anybody if I'm selling it. Usually I'm just giving them away in Happy Meal anyway, or it's just for my own use. And I mostly just use tiny little pieces of this stuff, so I don't even need it for it to be in. So you got to watch that. You don't want that facing out. You want that facing in. So that's going to be problematic. So that's. To figure out how this, there we go, how it lines up. Yeah, so mostly I just use little bits and snippets or down the edge of a page, or I don't need a full yard in most situations for junk journaling. That's not to say for other crafts I wouldn't want longer pieces. That's why I do leave them. When I get doing my dream catchers, I need longer pieces for the dangles. That's something I should do with you one time, is make a little dream catcher. I wouldn't be able to make one of the really big ones on screen, but I could make a little one. I'll show you how I do it. If you look at my personal Facebook page, I've got my mother of all dream catchers that I made first, one of the first ones I made, and it's a big hula hoop with 7 or 8 different doilies tied onto it, and then dangles, fabric strip dangles. I really love it. It's hanging in at my dad's on the porch, on the brick wall. So you just kind of have to let that glue set up. These ones are having trouble because it's cool in here today. You can set them under something heavy if they're giving you trouble like that, just for a few minutes until they have a chance to get good and set up. And then you can take your torn fabric strips or whatever you're wanting to put on there. I'll just take some of this. So this is where I get the wired ribbon, and I will just cut down a little bit, and I can tear them both off at the same time. Just get a hold of them and pull. I think I'll do about 3, well, I might as well do the whole thing. And I would like to show you how I measure, but I just don't want to put the camera on myself, so I'm not going to. If I can find a video on YouTube of someone doing that, I will link it below. It might be something you'd find in a sewing page. So one end of the yardage in your left hand, in my case, turn your head to the left and hold your arm straight out to the right, and that's your, it's a little bit more than a yard. So 1, 2, 2.5, I would say. So I'll just go ahead and mark it right on here, 2.5 yards. And yeah, I'm in Canada and I use yards. I'm in the kitchen industry and we still use inches and feet, not centimeters and meters for most things. And then I just wrap it on. Actually, that's going glitter in. I want the glitter out. And this one. So I do this a lot in front of the television. I had a big Rubbermaid tote full of ribbons that I got on Facebook Marketplace. Now this didn't rip evenly, but I'm going to wrap it on there anyway. And I condensed it down into a small basket just by doing this instead of having it on the spools. Now sometimes I do save the round tops and bottoms from the spools. Like this part, I will rip it off of the center spool part, and then you can use these to make clusters on or to make flowers on. You can use them as tucks in your journals. You could even do this to them, I guess, really. And I'm not keeping this one flat because it kind of got all convoluted on itself, but you get the idea. So that is a great way to take your ribbons and just downsize how much space they're taking up. And I like to keep them in these little bins. I have the long boxes from the drawer liner at Dollarama, which you all might have seen if you're looking for different kinds of paper in the dollar store. And so I have those full of, 2 of those full of this. And I originally had thought that these would look cute. You might notice in this box I've got them sideways, but I thought these would look cute standing up in the wooden drawers from an old sewing machine. So that's what I originally had done these for. But the boxes, I have 4 of those boxes, but they have all my playing cards in them right now. So someday I might have that on display in my craft room with these little bumps sticking up. I think that would look really cute. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing that little tip, and it's another way to use up something you have. It doesn't have to be file folder. It could be cereal box, cookie box, cracker box, and doing them back to back so that you don't have the packaging showing is a great way to use up that stuff too. So thanks for watching. Oh, and then the other thing is, and I think I did a video on this, you can use these to make flowers. And I have a video on that as well that you can go and check out if I can think of it. I will link it below for you. Yeah, so there's all sorts of things that you can do with these little scraps. And then with the pieces like this, I'll go through, and any place that's big enough, I'll do like a whale tail tab. And the corners, I'll do 3 or 4 5/8 circles to make these hole protectors. Or you can just cut little pieces of it to use in clusters too. You can even use these scalloped edges in the cluster. So lots of different ways you can get to where you're throwing away very little of those file folders or cereal boxes, whatever you happen to be using. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Most of all, have a great day. Happy crafting.